Lebanon versus Mount Juliet. Which part of Wilson County fits best for you?
Yeah, you. I'm talking to you.
Two people can move to Wilson County for exactly the same reason and end up being much happier in completely different parts of it. This is especially true when it comes down to Lebanon versus Mount Juliet. Both cities give you access to Wilson County, Interstate 40 in the Nashville area, but the way your day feels can be very different depending on which part you live in. So in this video, I'm going to compare Lebanon to Mount Juliet based on lifestyle, convenience, housing options, and the kind of daily routine each supports. And by the end, I'll give you 3 questions that will make this decision much easier. If you're new to the channel, I'm Jason Goolsby, and I help people understand what it's really like to live, move, and buy a home here in Wilson County. Let's start with the biggest difference: location. Location, location, location. Mount Juliet sits on the western edge of Wilson County, closer to Nashville and Nashville International Airport. Lebanon sits a little farther to the east and serves as the county seat. That difference may not look very dramatic on a map. They're right smack down beside each other, but it can shape your entire week. If you commute into Nashville several days a week, fly frequently, regularly meet clients, friends, or family in Davidson County, Mount Juliet may give you a more convenient starting point. You still need to account for traffic because a normal drive and peak hour drive are not the same thing. But generally, Mount Juliet gives you the shorter route towards Nashville and the airport. Lebanon is farther out, so traveling into Nashville usually requires a little bit more time and planning, but that distance can be a worthwhile trade-off if you do not need to be in the Nashville area every day, or if more of your routine is centered in Lebanon or eastern Wilson County or the surrounding area. Here's the first question I would ask. Primero uno. How many times do you imagine yourself going into Nashville? How many times do you actually need to do it? If the answer is once a week, once a month, or mainly just for special events, which Nashville is absolutely full of, Lebanon may become much more attractive. Both cities also have access to the WeGo Commuter trail line into downtown Nashville. That can be useful for some schedules, but you would have to review the current timetable and decide if the service really works for you. I know that it is open for Titans games and special weekend events, plus Monday through Friday for people who commute downtown. Now let's talk about lifestyle. Mount Juliet tends to feel more like a fast-growing Nashville suburb, much to the chagrin of most of the Wilson Countyans here. This is true. You have major shopping such as Providence Place, restaurants, everyday services, newer commercial development, and neighborhoods built around a convenient suburban routine. The Providence area, as I just mentioned, is a major part of that experience, especially for people who want errands, dining, and shopping to be close together. That convenience is one of Mount Juliet's biggest strengths, but growth creates trade-offs. More people using the same roads, retail areas can become very busy, and some parts of Mount Juliet may feel even more developed than buyers expect when they first hear Wilson County. Mount Juliet is one of Tennessee's fastest growing cities, so buyers should consider not only what an area looks like today, but what it's going to look like in a few years from now. If your idea of moving here is a quiet, small town setting with very little traffic or development, explore Mount Juliet in person rather than assuming every part of it is going to feel rural. Lebanon offers a different personality. That's my hometown. It has a historic town square, established neighborhoods, Cumberland University, my alma mater also, local businesses, and a stronger sense that you're living in independent Tennessee City rather than simply a suburb of Nashville. But Lebanon is growing too. You'll find new neighborhoods and expanding commercial areas and more activities than you expect. But depending on where you settle, Lebanon can offer more separation from Nashville's pace and a routine that feels more locally centered. That is the lifestyle difference in simple terms. Mount Juliet often makes it easier to stay connected to Nashville, while Lebanon makes it easier to build a routine that is not dependent on Nashville. Now let's compare housing. In Mount Juliet, you'll find established neighborhoods, newer subdivisions, townhomes, master plan communities, and higher-end properties. The exact mix changes depending on whether you're looking at north or south of Interstate 40 and how close you want to be to shopping, major roads, or the surrounding lakes. A lot of buyers are drawn to Mount Juliet because the neighborhoods can feel newer and the location works well for commuting. The trade-off, of course, is that convenience creates demand. Depending on current inventory in the neighborhood, your budget may buy a different combination of house size, lot size, age, and location than it would in Lebanon. In Lebanon, the housing mix can feel broader. You can find historic properties near the center of town, established neighborhoods, newer construction, subdivisions along growing corridors, and properties further out with more land or a more rural setting. For some buyers, Lebanon creates an opportunity to prioritize square footage, garage space, yard size, or distance between homes instead of being as close as possible to Nashville. But do not reduce this decision to Mount Juliet is more expensive and Lebanon is not. Real estate is more specific than that. A newer Lebanon home with upgrades and amenities may cost more than an older Mount Juliet home. And acreage can drastically change the numbers completely. Taxes, insurance, homeowners association dues, maintenance, and commuting expenses all affect what a home truly costs each month. The better question is, what are you trying to do with your budget? Are you buying convenience? Are you buying more space? Are you buying a newer home? Are you buying land? Or are you trying to balance all four? Once you rank those priorities, the city choice becomes clearer. There's another detail people sometimes overlook. The difference within each city can almost be as important as the difference between the two cities. North Mount Juliet, South Mount Juliet, the Providence area, the locations closer to the county line can support different routines. The same is true in Lebanon. A home near the square, on the western side closer to Mount Juliet, near Interstate 40 or further into the surrounding county can create a completely different experience. So I would never recommend choosing based solely on what the city name shown in an online listing says. You need to understand which roads you will use, where you will handle everyday errands, what is being built nearby, and whether the property is inside the city limits or in an unincorporated part of Wilson County. Now, let's put this into a few real-life examples. Imagine you work near downtown Nashville 3 days a week, your household travels often, and you want shopping and restaurants close to home. Mount Juliet would probably be the first place I'd explore. Now imagine you work remotely, only visit Nashville occasionally, and your priorities are a larger yard, Mount Juliet. On the other hand, maybe you want an older home with character, access to traditional downtown, or the option to look beyond a dense suburban setting. Then Lebanon may give you more experience you have in mind. Neither answer is automatically better. The goal is to choose the place that supports the life you actually live, not the life that looks best during a 20-minute home tour. Before you make the decision, I recommend doing what I call a routine test. Pick the homes or neighborhoods that you are seriously considering and drive the routes at the time you would normally use them. 7:30, 3 o'clock if it's picking up the kids, or 4 to 5 if it's drive time, rush hour. Drive from home to your intended workplace. Drive to the grocery store. Drive to the airport if you travel regularly. Visit on a weekday afternoon and again on a Saturday. Pay attention to traffic, road access, noise, nearby development, and how convenient the area feels when you are not simply following a real estate showing schedule. You should also verify school zoning directly with the appropriate school system if that matters to your move, because boundaries and assignments can change. I can speak to this very effectively, that sometimes you need to call the Board of Education and find out. We have a very robust and growing school system, and school boundaries change all the time. The same applies to future road projects, utility providers, development plans, and homeowners association rules. A home can look perfect inside, but the routine outside the home is what you will experience every day. So which one fits you best? Mount Juliet may be the better match if your top priorities are Nashville access, airport convenience, major retail, and a more connected suburban routine. Lebanon may be the better match if your top priorities are a locally centered lifestyle, a wider variety of property settings, and potential room to spread out. and less dependence on Nashville. But here are the 3 questions I promised you. Number 1, where will you spend most of your weekdays? Number 2, what matters most for your budget? Convenience, home size, condition, or land? And number 3, how often will you genuinely use or visit Nashville? Answer those honestly, and I promise you, you will start leaning to one side or the other of Wilson County. If you're comparing Lebanon, Mount Juliet, or another part of Wilson County, reach out to me before you narrow the search too far. Tell me what your work week looks like, what you want around you, what kind of home you're hoping to find, and what trade-offs you don't want to make. I can help you compare the areas based on your actual routine rather than simply sending you a list of properties. And if this video helped, subscribe to Welcome to Wilson County, Tennessee for more honest comparisons, local insights, and practical guidance for your move. I'm Jason Goolsby, and I'll see you in the next video.